health reasons. If you thought you couldn't get coverage before, now you can.
Tell you what, let's make the call together.
Okay.
Call MetLife today at 1-855-258-3333. That's 1-855-258-3333.
Welcome back to The Lead, everyone. The politics lead. Remember after the government shutdown when everyone was talking about the dire consequences Republicans would face come the midterm elections? Well, what a difference a flubbed Obamacare rollout makes. CNN's latest poll numbers show a dramatic turnaround since just last month. Take a look at this. Gone is the Democrats' lead among registered voters' choice for Congress in 2014. And now it's the Republicans who are showing a slight lead going in to the critical midterms. So let's bring in our panel to talk about this. CNN political commentator and Democratic strategist Maria Cardona, CNN political commentator and columnist for the New York Times Ross Douthat, and politics editor for Roll Call Shira Center. And Shira, I want to start with you because this is really your bread and butter at Roll Call. And a month ago, we were talking about, do the Democrats really have a chance to take over the House? And now today, sorry about the Peter Brady thing. Now today, we're sitting here thinking, do Republicans have a chance of taking over the Senate? How big of a shift are we dealing with here?
Yeah, there's certainly been a large shift, but let's remember there's still almost a year to go until the election, and if poll numbers can flip this quickly in a month, they can flip even more quickly many times between now and November 2014. That said, yes, there certainly has been a shift, especially in the Senate, where Republicans need to pick up a net of 6 seats to gain control of that chamber, and 7 senators, very vulnerable Democratic senators, are up for re-election in states that Obama lost in 2012. That is not good math, especially if the national landscape is shifting towards Republicans.
Maria, you run in these Democratic circles. If this does cost the Democrats 6 seats in the Senate, will Democrats look at this and say it was worth it?
Oh, John, that's a huge if, so I'm not going to concede that for you right now, a year before the elections. But I will say this. There's no question that the flub rollout has been a huge political cost for the Democrats. The president said that himself a couple of weeks ago during his press conference. But here's what Democrats need to do. It's a year out from the elections. Democrats need to make this about a choice between 2 parties. One party that wants to continue to make this law work for 40 million Americans who don't have health care coverage, for middle-class families whose health care coverage is too expensive, and a party who is willing to shut down the government, hurt our economy, and frankly has not taken shutting down the government again off the table. That is a big contrast that I think when you make it about that choice, protecting middle-class families versus doing whatever they can to make Obama fail and therefore this government and the economy hurt, I think that is an argument that the Democrats can win.
Ross, do you want to indulge me more than Maria was willing to on this subject?
I mean, obviously, the Republicans are going to pick up 17 seats. It's a mathematical certainty. No, I mean, I think that, look, obviously we're a long way out. I think the big danger for the Democrats is less the specific political landscape right at this moment and more the possibility that every month or every couple of months you're going to have a new wave of stories, of controversy and so on about some aspect of the health care law that Americans hadn't been aware of, that maybe didn't receive the coverage it should have had when the law was being debated. And so, you know, over the past couple months, we've had people realizing that actually a lot of people's insurance plans are going to be canceled because of the health care law. Over the next few months, you'll have more people buying new coverage and realizing that their medical networks have constricted, that they don't have access to the same doctors and so on. And then you'll probably start to have the law have more of an impact in the employer market, too, as various provisions kick in. So that's, I think, the big danger for the Democrats. I mean, obviously, they need to get the website fixed and running and so on. But even beyond that, there's just a scenario where you just have a sort of a kind of rolling disaster of coverage that continues till the point when it actually will start to make a real difference in political outcomes.
Or you can have a scenario where you continue to focus on the good news, which frankly CNN has been doing more and more, where those people who couldn't afford coverage before are actually getting it.
Shira, you know, you're in the difficult middle of this debate.
The objective middle.
The objective middle, that tiny little space that's about this big. Yeah. I'm wondering at roll call, if you see Obamacare being an issue that lasts all the way to November 2014.
Yes, and unfortunately for my reporters, too, who are so sick about writing about this storyline, because we've done it for the last 3 cycles, I do see it as being the primary issue for elections in 2014, no doubt about it, especially given what Ross detailed about how these deadlines and new parts of the law are going to come to light every few months or so. We're going to be talking about this, and we're going to be seeing it on campaign ads between now and November.
I want you guys to weigh in quickly on the other big story of the day, and that's the Supreme Court telling us that it will take up the issue of Obamacare again, at least one part of it. The justices agreed to take up the issue of the law that requires employers of a certain size to offer insurance coverage for birth control and other reproductive health services without a copay. So, Maria, how big of a deal do you think this is?
I think this is actually a huge opportunity, again, John, for Democrats to make this choice that I was talking about earlier. The focus on Obamacare when it comes to women's health, I think, is huge because Democrats have clearly won on that issue in the past. And a lot of Republicans, and we'll see if it happens this year, a lot of Republican candidates can't help themselves and when they put their foots in their mouths talking about this issue. But it's an opportunity for Democrats to, again, talk about the choice about a party who wants to make being a woman a pre-existing condition, who wants to take away the health care coverage and the security of seniors with the donut hole, again, with the focus on Republicans want to repeal Obamacare, when right now the majority of Americans actually want to see it work.
Ross, we were surprised. Some people were surprised by John Roberts in the first big Obamacare decision. Likely to be a surprise this time?
Well, I think, as so often with these cases, it's more likely to come down to Anthony Kennedy's vote. And what's interesting with Kennedy is that he's swung increasingly over time in a kind of libertarian direction on a range of issues, which explains why he's simultaneously been the most pro-gay rights justice, but also the justice who actually agreed that Obamacare was unconstitutional because of the individual mandate. And in this case, you have a collision of liberties. You have the free exercise of religion, which a lot of religious institutions, and in this case, a corporation owned by and founded on by a very religious family, see as intention. And then obviously the argument that Maria was making about reproductive rights and so on. So I think it's sort of, you know, the tension in the heart of Anthony Kennedy will be put to the test, I guess.
The tension there. All right, guys. Maria Cardona, Ross Douth at Sheriff Center. Thank you so much for being with me today. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, John.
All right, coming up for us next on The Lead, the blurred line between Thanksgiving and Black Friday. More Americans are fighting to keep stores closed on Thursday, but are any retailers listening? Plus, I think it's pretty safe to say the Pope will not be doing any Thanksgiving shopping after his latest remarks on what he calls the new tyranny of unbridled capitalism. Stay with us.
My asthma's under control. I don't miss out.
You sat out most of our game yesterday.
Asthma doesn't affect my job.
You were out sick last week.
My asthma doesn't bother my family.
You cough